I ran outside and my porch swing was gone. Just gone. All that was left were these two sad, rusty chains just dangling there, swaying a little bit in the morning breeze. Like, for real, you guys, it looked like a crime scene. My beautiful hand-painted teal swing vanished. I was literally shaking. My coffee cup was rattling in my hand, I swear. My first thought? Karen. It had to be Karen the Enforcer Briggs, our lovely HOA president. Let me back up a bit so you get the full picture. This whole nightmare started 3 days ago. I just finished putting up my new porch swing. It wasn't just any swing, okay? I'd found this gorgeous vintage wooden one at a flea market, sanded it down, and painted it this amazing, vibrant teal, my grandma's favorite color. I even used her old paintbrush, the one with the little fleck of red paint still on the handle. It felt like a little piece of her was right there on my porch. So, I'm out there, admiring my handiwork. Paco, my little rescue mutt, is sniffing around the azaleas. And who pulls up in her pristine white SUV with the HOA1 license plate? You guessed it. Karen. She marches up my walkway, clipboard practically glued to her hand, looking like a very angry, very beige owl. "Hey, Ms. Park," she squawks, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. "That structure." She pointed a bony finger at my beautiful swing, and I was like, "You mean my porch swing, Karen? Isn't it lovely?" She sniffed. "It is an unapproved alteration. And the color, Ms. Park, it's jarring. I'm not even kidding, you guys. Jarring. Jarring. It's teal, Karen. A perfectly respectable color." She squinted. "It appears decidedly gray, and a very aggressive shade of gray at that. It clashes terribly with the neighborhood's neutral palette." Gray? I was like, "Are you colorblind, Karen? Or just determined to ruin my day?" Paco, bless his little heart, chose that exact moment to trot over to Karen's shiny white SUV and lift his leg. A perfect stream right onto her front tire. I tried so hard not to laugh, but a little snort escaped. "Bad timing, Paco!" Or maybe, perfect timing? Karen's face went from beige to blotchy red. "That is a $50 fine for unleashed pet-defacing property," she shrieked. "And as for this eyesore," she gestured wildly at the swing, "you have 24 hours to remove it, or you will be fined $500, and $500 for every day it remains." $500. A day? For a porch swing? My grandma's porch swing? "You can't be serious," I told her. "Show me in the HOA bylaws where teal or even aggressive gray is forbidden." Section 7, subsection B, paragraph 3. All exterior modifications, including but not limited to paint, structures, and significant landscaping, must adhere to the community's pre-approved palette and maintain aesthetic harmony. Your gray swing is not harmonious, Ms. Park! She practically spat the words. She thrust a violation notice at me, spun on her sensible-heeled orthopedic shoes, and stomped back to her SUV, muttering about flagrant disregard and the youth of today. I was fuming. I spent the rest of the day calling the HOA management company, trying to find Linda Patel, the secretary, anyone who wasn't Karen. No luck. So, I left the swing up, because, honestly, screw Karen. This was about my grandma. This was about having one nice thing, and now this. Fast forward to this morning, and my swing is gone. Not just taken down. The chains were cut, like with bolt cutters or something. This wasn't just a rule enforcement. This was vandalism. My blood was boiling. I stormed back inside, heart pounding, and pulled up the footage from my cheap little security camera. You know the kind where everything looks like a grainy Bigfoot sighting? And there it was, around 3 a.m., a blurry, indistinct figure. But the vehicle was clearer. A white SUV. A white SUV that looked suspiciously, very suspiciously, like Karen's HOA1 mobile. It pulled up, the figure fiddled with something on my porch for a few minutes, and then it sped off. I couldn't prove it was her, not 100%, not from that grainy footage. But I knew. My gut knew. Old Man Rivera, my neighbor who hates Karen almost as much as I do, usually has like 10 cameras pointed at everything. I ran over to his place. "Mr. Rivera, did you see anything last night?" "My swing! It's gone!" He just shook his head, looking genuinely sad. "Ay, mija. My cameras. They were on the fritz last night. Just static. So strange, no?" He winked, but Karen didn't know I had a secret weapon. A dude named Ziggy and his sketchy drone. Just wait. You guys, I was literally in my pajamas, hair looking like a bird nested in it, setting up a full-blown sting operation. Karen had messed with the wrong DIY queen. And her little dog, too. Paco was still giving me the side-eye like, Mom, are we really doing this? Yes, Paco, we were. So, after the swing napping and Mr. Rivera's conveniently malfunctioning cameras, seriously, the one night his CIA-level surveillance decides to take a nap? Suspicious. I knew I needed better eyes. My grainy Bigfoot cam wasn't going to cut it in HOA court. That's when I remembered Ziggy drone guy Chen. Ziggy, my college buddy, who now apparently makes a living flying drones and yelling, "What is up, guys?" at his phone. He owed me big time after I helped him assemble like 700 IKEA shelves for his epic streaming background. I called him. Ziggy, my man, I need your eyes in the sky. It's a code teal emergency. Say no more, J-Park, he chirped. Operation Karen Takedown is a go. My new Nighthawk X2000 with thermal imaging will catch her beige-handed. He sounded way too excited. 15 minutes later, Ziggy rolls up in his beat-up Honda Civic, which inexplicably has underglow lights. He bursts out, drone case in one hand, a half-eaten bag of flamin' hot Cheetos in the other. All right, Jamie, this baby can spot a field mouse breaking wind from 500 feet. We're gonna get so much content. Content? Ziggy, this is about justice. And my grandma's swing? Justice content. Even better. Higher engagement. He was already setting up the drone, narrating every step for an imaginary audience. Okay, guys, we're deploying the Nighthawk. Make sure to smash that like button if you think Karen's going down. I rolled my eyes so hard I think I saw my brain. But hey, if his ridiculous drone could get me proof, I'd let him narrate my entire life. So, the plan was simple. Ziggy would fly the drone over Karen's house during her usual evening patrol. You know, when she cruises the neighborhood looking for rogue garden gnomes and improperly sorted recycling bins. Our first attempt? A total disaster. Ziggy, trying to get a super cinematic low-angle shot, flew the Nighthawk right into Karen's motion sensor floodlight. The light blazed on, the drone freaked out, and it careened directly into Karen's prize-winning, and probably HOA-violatingly large, rose bushes. My roses! Vandals! Karen shrieked from inside her house. Ziggy and I dove behind my azaleas, hearts pounding. Slight technical difficulty, Ziggy whispered, Cheeto dust on his chin. The Nighthawk is nesting. It took us 20 minutes of covert ops, crawling through my flower beds like ninjas, if ninjas wore pajama pants and smelled faintly of Cheetos, to retrieve the drone. Miraculously, it was mostly intact, just a few rose thorns stuck in its propellers. Okay, plan B, I hissed. Higher altitude. And no cinematic shots, Ziggy. Just get me footage of Karen being Karen. Take 2. This time, Ziggy kept the drone high. We watched on his little monitor as Karen emerged from her house, clipboard in hand, ready for her nightly reign of terror. She yelled at little Timmy Henderson for riding his pink Barbie bike on the sidewalk. That is not a neutral color, young man. And then spent a solid 5 minutes scrutinizing Mrs. Gable's bird feeder, probably checking if the sunflower seeds were HOA approved. Then, the drone panned across Karen's backyard. And that's when we saw it. Behind her meticulously trimmed, perfectly square hedges was another set of hedges. But these ones looked fake. Like really fake. Plasticky. Whoa, zoom in on that, Ziggy, I whispered, pointing at the screen. Ziggy expertly maneuvered the drone. Dude, those are like Amazon's Choice realistic privacy hedges. My aunt bought those to hide her bins. And just as the drone got a clear shot over the top of the fake hedge wall, bingo, a glint of turquoise water, a flash of chrome. Is that a hot tub? I practically screamed. Ziggy was already losing it. Oh my God, Karen has a secret hot tub. This is gold, Jerry. Gold! He started whooping and fist-pumping, completely forgetting he was piloting a very expensive piece of equipment, which is probably why, in his excitement, he bumped the joystick. The drone dipped, right towards Karen, who was now in her backyard, suspiciously close to the fake hedges, holding what looked suspiciously like a margarita. She looked up, saw the drone. Her eyes went wide. What in the Sam Hill? She screeched, margarita sloshing everywhere. The drone, startled by the sudden high-pitched frequency, or maybe Ziggy's frantic button mashing, wobbled, spun, and then, in a moment of pure slapstick comedy, dive-bombed directly towards Karen's head. She shrieked, ducked, and the drone sort of bounced off her perfectly coiffed helmet of hair before crash-landing with a thud, right next to the fake hedge. Karen stood there, stunned, margarita dripping down her beige cardigan. Ziggy and I stared at the monitor, mouths agape. Ziggy said slowly, Did we just assault an HOA president with a drone? The footage went viral on Ziggy's TikTok, of course. Stam drone vs Karen, nog hot tub gate, our HOA warfare. Millions of views. Comments were flying. But here's the kicker, you guys. In all the chaos of the crash, the actual clear shot of the hot tub, it was like half a second, blurry. You could kind of tell it was a hot tub, but it wasn't the smoking gun I needed. We had footage of Karen getting bonked on the head by a drone, which was hilarious, but we missed the crucial proof of her own HOA violation. I was so frustrated. Ziggy, we had one job. But Jamie, think of the clout, he wailed, already editing a slow-mo version with tragic violin music. I was about to lose it when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your front porch and delete my number. LL. Linda Patel? The HOA secretary? I ran to my porch, and there, tucked under my doormat, was a crisp, official-looking document. The HOA bylaws, specifically Section 9, Subsection C. Permanent or semi-permanent unapproved water features exceeding 10 gallons are strictly prohibited. Wait until you hear what happened next. This was getting so much better. You guys, my jaw was on the floor. Linda Patel, the quiet, seemingly mousy HOA secretary who always looked like she was about to apologize for existing, was a secret agent of chaos. Check your front porch and delete my number. It was like a spy movie. Only instead of microfilm, it was laminated HOA bylaws. I snatched up the document. Section 9, Subsection C. Permanent or semi-permanent unapproved water features exceeding 10 gallons are strictly prohibited. 10 gallons. Karen's secret hot tub looked like it held at least 400. This wasn't just a smoking gun. This was a whole freaking arsenal. Ziggy, I yelled, waving the bylaws. Forget the blurry hot tub shot. We have the rulebook. Ziggy, who was trying to teach Paco how to dab for a TikTok video, Paco was not impressed, looked up. Dude, bylaws? Boring. Did you see my latest edit? I added explosion effects when the drone hit Karen's head. Focus, Ziggy! This is better than explosions. This is hypocrisy. My phone buzzed again. Another text from L. This time it was a scanned document, a meeting minutes excerpt. It showed 3 separate pool permit applications from other neighbors. All denied by Karen, citing water conservation and aesthetic disruption. And then, at the bottom, a hastily scribbled addendum, barely legible. K. Briggs, small decorative fountain approved. Self. A fountain? She called that monstrous hot tub a decorative fountain? Then another text from L. She denied my pool last spring, said it would lower property values. Enjoy. Oh, my God. Linda wasn't just helping me out of the goodness of her heart. Linda had a grudge. A big, chlorinated pool-sized grudge against Karen. And I was apparently her chosen instrument of vengeance. I wasn't mad about it. I felt like I had superpowers. Armed with Ziggy's, admittedly hilarious but legally useless, drone footage of Karen getting bonked, and Linda's irrefutable proof of Karen's blatant rule-breaking, I was ready. The next morning, I waited until I saw Karen's HOA1 SUV pull into her driveway after her morning power walk, in full beige athleisure wear, of course. I took a deep breath, clutched Linda's documents, and marched over. Paco trotted confidently beside me, probably hoping for another shot at her tires. Karen was watering her non-native, probably HOA-violating, petunias. She saw me coming and her face soured like old milk. Ms. Park. To what do I owe this intrusion? Karen, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, we need to talk about your decorative fountain. She visibly paled. Her watering can clattered to the pristine driveway. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think you do, I said, holding up the bylaws. Section 9, subsection C. And these meeting minutes? Where you denied 3 pools but approved your own fountain? Karen started sputtering. That's taken out of context. It's a temporary inflatable. For therapeutic reasons. My sciatica. I just raised an eyebrow. Temporary. Karen Ziggy's drone, before its unfortunate altercation with your head, got a pretty clear shot of what looked like concrete coping and custom tile work. Not very inflatable. Her eyes darted around like a trapped raccoon. She was sweating, profusely. Her perfectly applied beige foundation was starting to streak. It's an older model, grandfathered in. Funny, I said, tapping the document. Linda's records show the fountain was installed 6 months ago, right after you denied Mr. Henderson's above-ground pool for his kids. And then, you guys, she cracked. It was glorious. She threw her hands up in the air. Fine. Yes, it's a hot tub. A very expensive, very relaxing hot tub. And I deserve it after 12 years of dealing with ingrates like you and your aggressive gray swings. Then came the Freudian slip to end all Freudian slips. She clutched her head. Colors are hard, okay? Sometimes things look different to me. My jaw dropped. Was she admitting something? About the teal-gray confusion? Before I could even process that bombshell, she leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Look, Ms. Park, Jamie, we're both reasonable women, right? This whole misunderstanding. It can all go away. How about I waive your little swing fine, and maybe there's a little something in it for your trouble? I was stunned. Was she trying to bribe me? After all that? Are you trying to bribe me, Karen? She forced a sickly sweet smile. Let's just call it a gesture of goodwill for your silence. Paco, sensing the shift in tension, let out a low growl. Good boy, Paco. I just stared at her. The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated Karen-ness of it all. So my swing was an eyesore and a flagrant violation, but your secret, rule-breaking, permit-fudging hot tub is just a therapeutic necessity? She winced. When you put it like that, I just shook my head. No deal, Karen. I turned to leave, Paco trotting victoriously at my heels. Then I heard her call out, a desperate edge to her voice. Ms. Park, wait! Perhaps a gift card? To that coffee place you young people like? I kid you not, you guys. Later that day, I found an envelope taped to my door. Inside, a Starbucks gift card for $5 and a hastily scribbled note. For your discretion. Let's keep this between us. K. $5. To buy my silence on a multi-thousand-dollar HOA violation and a clear abuse of power. Spoiler alert, she was the one who was going to regret that pathetic little bribe. Just wait until the next HOA meeting. This was going to be epic. You guys, the night of the HOA meeting, I was practically vibrating with anticipation. I had my evidence binder. Yes, I made a binder, complete with color-coded tabs. I had Ziggy's drone bonk Karen video queued up on my phone, and I had Karen's pathetic $5 Starbucks bribe taped to the front of said binder like a trophy. Paco was wearing his little emotional support troublemaker bandana. We were ready. The community clubhouse was packed. Word had clearly gotten out. Ziggy's TikToks had turned Fotcher Hot Tub Karen into a local legend. Neighbors I'd never even spoken to were giving me these little conspiratorial nods. Old Man Rivera gave me a thumbs up and slipped me a Ziploc baggie of what smelled suspiciously like his famous chili cheese Fritos. For energy, he winked. Karen was at the front table, looking even more starched and uncomfortable than usual. She kept dabbing her forehead with a lace handkerchief, even though the AC was blasting. Linda Patel sat beside her, cool as a cucumber, meticulously arranging her pens. The other board members, a couple of bewildered-looking retirees named Bob the Bird Guy and Brenda from accounting, just looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. The meeting started with the usual boring stuff. Minutes from last meeting, treasurer's report on why our HOA fees were going up again, probably to fund Karen's secret hot tub maintenance, I muttered to Ziggy, who snorted. Then, Karen cleared her throat. Next on the agenda, new business. Does anyone have any new business? She looked directly at me, her eyes practically begging me to just, discuss the weather. This was my moment. I stood up. The room went silent. Actually, Karen, I do. I walked to the front, binder in hand. I'd like to discuss a rather serious violation of Section 9, subsection C, regarding unapproved water features, specifically a certain decorative fountain that bears a striking resemblance to a 400-gallon hot tub. A collective gasp went through the room. Karen turned a fascinating shade of puce. Ms. Park, this is hardly the forum. Oh, I think it's exactly the forum, I said, my voice way steadier than I felt. I opened my binder. I have here the HOA bylaws, clearly stating the 10-gallon limit. I also have meeting minutes, signed by you, Karen, denying 3 other residents' pool permits while mysteriously approving your own fountain. I then held up my phone. And for your viewing pleasure, a little something from my friend Ziggy Chen, local drone artiste. I hit play. The video of the drone discovering the hot tub, then bonking Karen on the head, played on the projector screen Ziggy had helpfully set up. The room erupted. People were laughing, pointing, gasping. Karen looked like she was about to spontaneously combust. Bob the bird guy choked on his water. This is an outrage. An invasion of privacy! Karen shrieked, banging her gavel. That footage is inadmissible. It was obtained illegally. Actually, Ziggy piped up from the back, munching on Rivera's Fritos. Drone operation was in full compliance with FAA regulations for hobbyist flight below 400 feet in unrestricted airspace, ma'am. And your backyard is, like, totally visible from public flyways. He even did air quotes around public flyways. Bless him. Then, for the grand finale, I pulled out the $5 Starbucks card. And then, Karen, after I confronted you with this evidence, you attempted to bribe me with this, a $5 gift card, to keep this between us. The room was dead silent again. You could hear a pin drop, or maybe just Karen's jaw hitting the table. But then, you guys, something I didn't expect happened. A few neighbors started murmuring. Okay, the hot tub is bad, but posting that video online? That's a bit much. Yeah, Karen's strict, but I don't know about publicly shaming her like this. My heart sank a little. Was this going to backfire? Had I gone too far? Karen, sensing a shift, seized the moment. Tears welled up in her eyes. Real, actual tears. It's just, I've been under so much stress, she wailed, dabbing her eyes dramatically. My divorce, the pressures of this position, and she took a shuddering breath. And it's true. Colors are hard for me. I'm colorblind. I thought your swing was gray. A horrible, depressing gray. I just wanted things to look nice. To look right. The room was stunned. Colorblind? Karen? The woman whose entire personality was beige? It was almost sad. For like half a second. Then old man Rivera piped up, colorblind don't excuse breaking your own rules, Karen, or trying to bully folks with $5 bribes. That seemed to snap everyone back. Linda Patel, who had been watching all this with the serene expression of a cat watching a mousetrap, finally spoke. Well, Karen, she said, her voice syrupy sweet, the evidence does seem rather compelling. The bylaws are quite clear, and attempted bribery of a homeowner is, I believe, grounds for immediate review by the Ethics Committee, which is, conveniently, us. She gestured to Bob and Brenda, who looked like they'd rather be facing a real bear. The vote was swift. Bob and Brenda, probably terrified of being Linda's next target, voted with her. Karen was officially found in violation. Fine, $10,000. And, effective immediately, removed from her position as HOA president. The room kind of exploded into quiet chatter and shuffling. Karen just sat there, defeated, staring at the $5 Starbucks card on the table, as I was packing up my binder, feeling a weird mix of triumph and something else. Exhaustion, maybe? Linda glided over. Well done, Jamie, she said, a tiny, almost imperceptible smirk on her face. The board has just voted me in as interim president. I trust we'll have a more colorful future for this community. She winked. A slow, deliberate wink. I walked home, Paco trotting beside me. Victory! Sweet, sweet victory. But when I got to my front yard, I stopped. My beautiful tomato plants, the ones I'd been meaning to water all week while I was consumed with Operation Karen Takedown, they were brown, crispy, dead. Huh, karma's a weird gardener, you guys. It gives with one hand and takes away your heirloom brandywines with the other. But the best part? Or maybe the pettiest? The next morning, I saw a tow truck outside Karen's house. They weren't repossessing her car. Oh no. They were carefully, painstakingly, removing the HOA1 vanity license plate. Chef's kiss. But the story wasn't quite over. Not by a long shot. I rebuilt the swing, you guys. It took me a whole weekend, a lot of wood glue, and maybe a few tears when I found a tiny chip in my grandma's old paintbrush. But I did it. I even splurged on new, unbreakable titanium chains. Let's see Karen or her bolt cutters get through those. And of course, I gave it a fresh coat of glorious, unapologetic teal. Hex code Yichom or Zox Oi A80 for anyone asking. My grandma's brush got a place of honor, tucked safely under the seat, like a little guardian angel of vibrant colors. To celebrate, I decided to throw a Karma BBQ and porch swing reveal party. I invited the whole neighborhood. Old Man Rivera promised his famous 5-alarm HOA annihilation chili, and Ziggy, still riding high on his Archives Hot Tub Karen TikTok fame, volunteered to do a commemorative drone light show. I was a little nervous about that last one, remembering the great drone bonkening of 23. But hey, what's a party without a little risk of minor head trauma, right? The day of the party, though, it was a little awkward. About half the neighborhood showed up, full of smiles and congratulations. The other half? Crickets. Turns out my public takedown of Karen, while satisfying for many, had made some folks uncomfortable. Mrs. Henderson, whose kids now had a Linda-approved above-ground pool, gave me a hug. But Bob the bird guy just sort of waved sadly from his porch. Apparently, he and Karen used to go bird-watching together. Who knew? Still, Rivera's chili was epic. Ziggy's drone show, surprisingly, didn't injure anyone and actually spelled out teal rules in blinking lights. And Paco got an entire plate of leftover hot dogs. So, mostly a win. The biggest gossip of the BBQ, though? Karen was moving. A U-Haul had been spotted outside her house that morning. And get this. Eyewitnesses, aka nosy Mrs. Gable from across the street, peering through her binoculars, reported seeing movers struggling to load a very large, very heavy, hot tub-shaped object into the back. So much for her therapeutic inflatable. A few days later, after the last of the chili had been eaten and Ziggy had finally taken down his drone light rigging, I was out on my newly reinstalled gloriously teal swing, just enjoying the quiet. Paco was snoozing at my feet. That's when I saw it. Tucked into my mailbox, a crisp, beige envelope. No stamp, hand-delivered. My stomach did a little flip. Inside was a single stiff note card, written in Karen's immaculate, spiky handwriting, Ms. Park. While I may be relocating to a community with a more discerning aesthetic appreciation, I feel compelled to offer one final piece of advice. Teal still clashes dreadfully with your azaleas. It simply doesn't work. Consider a muted sage. Tay. Briggs, former president. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Even in defeat, even while literally fleeing the neighborhood, Karen had to get in one last petty shot about my color choices. You almost had to admire her dedication to beige. Almost. I showed the note to Paco. He just sniffed it disdainfully and went back to sleep. Smart dog. Life in the HOA slowly returned to, well, not normal, exactly. More like a new kind of weird. Linda Patel, our new interim president, was a whole different ballgame. Her first official act? Approving her own long-denied in-ground pool permit, with a waterfall feature and LED mood lighting. She even sent me a little winking emoji when she emailed the neighborhood about the necessary aesthetic upgrades to Lot 17. Uh-oh. I had a sneaking suspicion we'd just traded one HOA tyrant for another, slightly more fabulous one. Old Man Rivera just cackled when I told him. See, Jamie? That's the thing about HOAs. You cut off one head, two more pop up, probably wanting to regulate the height of your grass to the millimeter. He wasn't wrong. But you know what? Every evening, when I sit on my teal porch swing, the one that caused all this drama, the one that stands for my grandma and for not backing down, I can't help but smile. My tomatoes might have died a tragic death in the great HOA war, and Karen might still be haunting my color choices from afar, and Linda might be about to turn our neighborhood into a Vegas poolside resort. But that swing? It's still here, and it's still teal. So yeah, we won-ish. It was messy, it was ridiculous, and I probably have a few new neighborhood frenemies. But hey, that's life, right? And at least I have a killer story to tell. What do you guys think? Was I right to go full scorched earth on Karen? Or did I become the HOA Karen in the process? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you want to see what happens when Linda tries to ban garden gnomes next. Because you know that's coming. Thanks for watching. Bye.